One of the most comforting, delicious dishes we used to make back at a restaurant I worked at was paella. And the one that I'm going to show you how to do is jam-packed with chicken and seafood. It is amazing. I know you're going to love this recipe. Spanish paella, and specifically Paella de Valencia, in its purest form is simply chicken or rabbit cooked in a flavorful broth with rice and a few vegetables. Now, you may oftentimes see just seafood in a paella, which is known as Paella de Mariscos. Well, in the United States, it's very common for you to combine those things. You get a little bit of protein, specifically chicken here, and of course seafood to make a delicious jam-packed paella. Well, that's exactly what I'm going to show you how to do, and I love it. There is some prep to knock out though first. Sound good? Let's cook. We're going to begin with small dicing up some yellow onions. These are pretty small, so maybe one medium or one large onion will do. Slice off the end, slice it in half. Of course, take off that outside peel. And then again, small dice them just like this. Set them to the side. And then, you know me, I hate chopping garlic, so I'm going to run a few cloves through a garlic press, get all that goodness off of there using my knife. Just going to set that to the side in a separate bowl. And then I've got one red bell pepper. This one's pretty big. It's okay to use one this size, and it's also okay to use one that's a little bit smaller. No problem. We are going to medium dice these, or even small dice if you'd like. Totally up to you. Set them to the side in another separate bowl. And then next, I've got some tomatoes. I'm using Roma tomatoes. They are great all year round, even during those winter months, just in case you want to make this paella recipe during those cold months. So what we're going to do is simply medium to large dice these. Normally, I would just use the outside, but because we want to stew this down, we need the inside of the tomato as well. Next, I've got some fresh squid tubes and tentacles. You can use just tubes or just tentacles or both like I am. What I like to do is slice the tubes into rings just like this. This is absolutely perfect. And then just sort of simply mix them together with the tentacles. No problem. Set them to the side on a plate. Give your good cutting board a rinse because next I've got some chicken thighs and chicken drums. I'm going to stop really quick here, and I'm going to do this often because I do want to provide some substitutes and clarity, beginning with chicken. Now, you do not have to use just thighs or drums. You can use one or the other. In fact, you could use chicken breast. You could use split chicken breast. You could break down a whole chicken. Use what you have, or better yet, what's on sale. Here's what we do now. Season the chicken very well on both sides with sea salt and fresh cracked black pepper. Yes, you could absolutely use kosher salt. I always get that question. And now what we're going to do is head right over to the cooktop. We're going to add some olive oil into a large paella pan. Now, you know I'm super classical, so of course I'm going to use a paella pan, which is sort of like a cross between a wok and a rondeau, but it's much more shallow, maybe only 3 inches in height. You can pick these up for about 20 to 25 bucks online. Now, if you don't have this or you don't want to spend the money on it, just go ahead and use an extra large frying pan, or even a Dutch oven will work. Now, this is a 12.5-inch pan that I'm using, and in retrospect, I wish I would have got the 14 or 15-inch pan. Just wanted a little bit more room. I'll leave that part up to you. Now, add the chicken to that pan. Make sure they're spread apart, maybe an inch apart from one another. We're going to cook it over medium to medium-high heat for about 6 to 8 minutes per side. What we want to do is cook these about 75 to 80% of the way. Once they are golden brown, and again, cook for 6 to 8 minutes, we're simply going to flip them over and cook the other side. These look fantastic. After all of that time cooking, just go ahead and set the chicken to the side on a plate. Now we are going back over to that pan over medium to low heat now. Add in our onions, and just like I say, whenever you're trying to pull out as much flavor as possible, we're going to take the time to caramelize these onions, but because they are small diced, we're maybe looking at 10 to 15 minutes. Once they are brown like this is excellent. We're next going to add in our peppers, followed up with our finely minced garlic. What we want to do also is cook this on low to medium heat for another 6 to 8 minutes. Want to roast up these peppers real nice, get a lot of good flavor out of them. And then finally, let's add in our tomatoes. What we want to do is cook this for about 10 minutes or so on low to medium heat. We want the tomatoes to cook down. We want this mixture to be pretty moist, just like you see here. This is absolutely perfect. Definitely do not skip out on these portions of cooking where you're taking the time to caramelize the onions, roast up the peppers, cook down the tomatoes. It is the grunt end of this recipe, but I promise from here on out it's going to move super quick, so pay close attention. Here we go. Now what we want to do is add the squid right to the sauteed onions, garlic, peppers, and tomatoes, followed up with some paprika. This is pretty classic in a paella. Go ahead and mix all of these ingredients together, move them around. Some of the smells are going to be fantastic. The flavors are going to start to come out. It's going to be so delicious. Now we're going to add in some bomba rice. If you can't get bomba, use short grain or even arborio would be great. Now I'm going to add a pinch of saffron threads. Then grab your spoon again and begin to mix everything around. What I like to do is toast the rice for maybe 2 to 3 minutes in the pan just to begin that cooking process. And now I'm going to add in some chicken stock. If you have fish stock, all the better. Shrimp stock will work as well. If you just have water, no problem, that will do. Now what we want to do is season this broth very well with sea salt and fresh cracked black pepper, and then just move everything around until combined. I have to stop and say this. It is incredibly important. It is vital that this broth be seasoned very well. After all, it is going to season up the rice, the vegetables, and all of the seafood that we are going to put in there. If you have to, taste it after you season it. Make sure it's delicious and very flavorful. Here's what we do. Go ahead and grab that cooked chicken. We're going to put it right in here because we're going to help cook it the rest of the way along with adding everything else in. And now at this point, I've got some fresh mussels. They are scrubbed, they are rinsed. We are going to spread them in the pan all over just like this. I've also got some fresh rinsed and scrubbed clams. These look perfect. Again, spread them out all over the pan. And then last but not least, I've got some gigantic U10 shrimp that we are going to add in there. That means 10 shrimp for 1 pound. These things are massive. This is perfect. Just spread them out all over the paella pan wherever there's room. And very similar to Italian cuisine, it's all about availability with these old world recipes. Perhaps sometimes when they made paella, they only had mussels and clams, or maybe just shrimp and squid, or maybe a combination, or just one of them. Use what you have or what you can get. That's the beauty of these recipes, and that's why you see so many different variations. There are plenty of paella recipes out there that use fish. You can absolutely do that. Get creative, have fun, use what's available to you to make this recipe. Now, this part is optional, but I am going to add in about a half cup of peas. It is pretty traditional, but again, optional, completely up to you. Just put it right to the top, and you can see this is at the very top of my paella pan as well. And what we want to do is cook this over low to medium heat for about 20 minutes. Once you can see just a little bit of liquid left, sort of bubbling at the top, just like this, we know we're at a good point, because what we're going to do is add a lid on. If you don't have a lid to fit your pan, just add another saute pan, flip it over, and we're going to cook it on low heat for 15 more minutes. Make sure that rice and those shellfish are completely cooked. We're going to come back, turn the heat off, open it up, and oh my goodness, the smells are to die for, my friends. Let's go ahead and take it off the cooktop. We are going to bring it right over to the countertop and get it ready to serve up. To all of my commis, my junior chefs, my chefs in training, just like I tell you every week, it is all about understanding these fundamental basic cooking techniques and putting them into practice. Oftentimes people always ask me, what kind of pan should I buy? Well, you know what? If you just learn how to cook, you could cook on a hot rock. I always tell people that, because it's not about the pan, it's about the person cooking that's holding the pan, and if they know how to do it or not. It's about understanding how to properly caramelize, cook down those tomatoes, cooking 2 different proteins, chicken and seafood, in a very authentic Paella de Valencia con mariscos, which is exactly what we made here. You put these little things into practice in your everyday cooking, I promise you, your homemade food from scratch will taste better. It always does, my friends. This dish is incredible. Now, of course, let's plate up in slow-mo. It's pretty classic that you would serve this dish up right in that cooked paella pan and finished with fresh chopped parsley. And my, oh my friends, check out this beauty. It does not matter what time of year it is. This dish is a must make, jam-packed with so much deliciousness. Your friends, your family are going to love this. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, like and share this video, and definitely check out this video right here. I made it just for you. You'll love it. I promise you. We'll see you on there.